I want to start with a confession. For years, I thought the only way to lose fat was to cut out carbs completely. Bread gone, rice off limits, potatoes and fruit, forget it. And what happened? I was perfect for 10 days. Then on day 11, I'd fall face first into a giant bowl of rice, half a loaf of bread, and every craving I had been fighting. The binge would spike my glucose, blow up my insulin, and I'd gain about 3 to 5 pounds almost overnight. Does that sound familiar to you? What I didn't know back then, though, is this. Carbs aren't the problem. Carb timing and carb pairing is the actual problem. Once I fixed that, everything else changed. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to eat carbs without spiking insulin or storing fat, even after you are over 40 years old, and even if you're insulin resistant right now. The biggest lie in nutrition is that the carb is the bad guy. I always heard that, but it's not. The problem is the spike, that sharp, rapid elevation of glucose in your bloodstream that triggers fat storage, destroys energy, and drives insulin resistance. The secret is simple. We have to slow the release of glucose into the bloodstream. That is the solution. It's like turning a fire hose into a gentle faucet. And the most powerful, least known tool we have for this is resistant starch. Let me pronounce it correctly. Think about your typical starchy foods, the bread, the pasta, and the white rice. They break down almost instantly into glucose, which is what hits your bloodstream fast. But resistant starch behaves completely different. Your body's enzymes just aren't good at digesting it. So instead of spiking your glucose, it travels all the way down to your large intestine where your gut bacteria actually ferments it. And guess what that fermentation does or produces? Things like short-chain fatty acids, which actively improve your insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and feed your gut health. So it's a win-win situation for you and your gut to consider resistant starch. So how do we get more resistant starch into the foods that we already love? This is where the magic happens. You take your typical starchy foods, bread, pasta, rice, potatoes. You cook them normally, like you always do. And then what you do, you cool them down. And then you're going to reheat them again before you eat them. So by cooling them, part of the starch actually crystallizes into this resistant form. It's a process called starch retrogradation. And all you need to remember is this. When you cool it, those starch molecules realign and form crystalline structures that resist digestion in your small intestine. Listen to the data. Studies show that just cooling cooked rice or potatoes down to about 40 degrees Fahrenheit for 24 hours significantly increases the resistant starch content compared to eating it freshly cooked. Clinically, eating this cooled, then reheated food leads to dramatically reduced post-meal glucose and insulin spikes. So, if you're eating at home, you do not have to give up bread or rice or potatoes. Yeah, I said that. All you have to do is just cool it or even freeze it first and then you're going to reheat it later. It might not taste exactly the same as how you would cook it and eat it freshly, but the metabolic benefits are absolutely huge. And it's a simple change that you can make today. In this case, heating up your leftovers is a plus for you. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that what you hear? Oh my gosh. Okay, so the next principle is food pairing. We rarely eat carbs in total isolation. And what you eat alongside your carbs can dramatically change the entire glucose story. Some people call this avoiding naked carbs, and it's a great visual. You don't want the carbs standing alone. You need to dress it up with protectors. That's what I call that. Protein is your number one protector. Studies show that just adding protein to a carbohydrate meal can reduce the glucose area under the curve by up to 50%. Protein helps you feel full and helps with insulin clearance. Fat is your second protector. Fat helps delay gastric emptying, which means the glucose is released into your system much slower. But be mindful that this should be healthy fat. That's why something simple like rice and beans is usually metabolically better than just rice by itself. Or potatoes with butter or potatoes with olive oil will always produce a gentler glucose spike than eating the potatoes completely naked. Always pair them. That's the trick. We can supercharge that pairing by adding acid to our meal. Things like vinegar, lemon, or lime juice. The acid actually lowers the rate at which starch is broken down in your stomach. Vinegar is particularly powerful because it improves insulin sensitivity in your muscles, and it helps your liver manage the glucose better. I've even made a separate video on all the benefits of apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar, which I'll link for you below in the description. But the final piece of this pairing puzzle is the most crucial, and it's the food order. And that matters. If you start your meal with bread or juice, you get a sharp, immediate glucose peak. But if you eat your protein and your vegetables first, and then finish with the carbs, your stomach is going to release it slower. More controlled mix of glucose into the intestines. It's the exact same food, but eating it in a different order gives you a completely different glucose curve. Did you get that? This is especially important in restaurants where they love to drop that bread basket or nachos before you even get to your salad and your meal. Don't let them dictate how you eat your meal. First, you're going to eat your salad and your protein. Then you're going to go for the bread afterwards. It's a tiny behavioral change that pays off huge metabolic dividends in the long run. Clinical trials show people with type 2 diabetes who ate protein and vegetables first had a 40% lower glucose spike. Now, integrating all these simple hacks, the cooling trick, the pairing trick, and the acid trick, it all requires a plan. So if you're struggling with that initial overwhelm or just don't know where to start, I want to guide you. So I've put together everything that you need to start gaining control in those critical early weeks when you get diagnosed. And I put that in an ebook, a free ebook, What to Do the First 30 Days After Being Diagnosed with Diabetes. This free resource is designed to take away the immediate fear and give you a simple daily action plan. You don't have to face this journey alone. And this free ebook is available for instant download, completely free, using the link in the description. Now, the final hack is one of my favorites, and that is walking right after you eat. But I want to tell you the real reason that this works, because it's not just about burning calories. That's not what this is. Just a 10-minute walk. All you need is 10 minutes immediately after you eat. This can dramatically lower your post-meal glucose. And the reason for this is a fascinating one. Walking activates the muscle deep in your calves, behind your legs here. The muscle is a metabolic sponge. It pulls glucose directly out of your bloodstream to use as fuel without needing a huge surge of insulin. Why is it so special? It's composed of slow twitch fibers, which means it can sustain contractions for the long periods without fatiguing. So when you walk, you are burning lots of glucose for a long time, even while you sleep. You're literally pulling sugar out of your bloodstream when you do that, and using your muscle as a glucose sponge. That's the best way I can explain it. You don't have to run. Light activity like cleaning up the kitchen, walking up the stairs, squats, or pacing works. They all work, movement. But walking, though, is the most studied and the easiest thing. Do it as soon as possible after your last bite. Remember, not all carbs are created equal. The key difference is how they are processed. Flour milled into a fine powder like white bread or most cereals is like throwing sawdust onto fire. It burns fast and hot, causing a huge spike. Whole grains, steel-cut oats, and high-fiber carbs are like logs. They burn slowly and more evenly, meaning smaller, steadier glucose curves. So always choose the log over the sawdust. And finally, do not eat late at night. Your body's ability to process glucose follows a circadian rhythm. We simply cannot process glucose as well in the evening as we do earlier in the day. The later you eat, the worse your glucose response is going to be the next day. So I recommend eating your last meal of the day at least 3 hours before you go to bed. Please. And if you want the complete day-by-day plan that takes you from that moment of panic when you get your diagnosis to a true comeback, pairing all these foods and timing hacks together, you need the full system that I've created. My comprehensive guide called the Diabetic Comeback System provides that complete roadmap that you need. You can find the link for the free 30-day checklist and the full Diabetic Comeback System. Both are in the description below. And please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next video coming up, where I'm going to share what your body is telling you when your blood sugar spikes. You can't miss that video. That one is going to be a banger. Trust me. Please stay healthy, and I will see you in the next video. And please share this video with someone that you know needs it. And if you have to listen to this again, most certainly do. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.